Hello and welcome to the Method EU podcast. I am Benjamin and I will be presenting today's episode. I am with your host Glauco Donati, which is the founder of the Method EU, a method that works on human components, body, mind, emotions, and body movements. You can learn more by checking our website, themethodeu.com. This podcast revolves around the four pillars of the Method EU: Chinese medicine and shiatsu massage for the body, dynamic hypnosis for the mind, neuro-linguistic programming or NLP for the emotions, and HOM, HOM, harmony of movements for the body movements. And also many other subjects like body language, the origin of the mind, identity, our belief system, nonverbal communication or body language, etc. All this in order to bring awareness to people in search of the truth, on a path of healing, traumas, addiction, etc., or to deepen one's connection to oneself. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of our podcast, The Method EU, presented by myself, Benjamin. Today we have our host, Glauco Donati, and our returning guest, Anushka. Welcome everyone. Welcome Anushka.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so today let's dive right in and tackle the subject of happiness. So, Glauco, I have a question for you. Happiness, big word. How can we define it? What does it represent regarding our emotions and our logical mind? What is happiness?
Happiness, it's a big word. Everybody wants to be happy. We can imagine happiness as a container. What would you put in this container in order to be happy? What I would suggest, we need the fundamental needs to be happy: feeling secure, having enjoyment, variety, feeling important, and feel connection, which can be love. And also we can go further with self-growth and contribution that make happiness, because you feel you are actually doing something. How do we get happiness? I believe that happiness, we were born happy. We just lose the thread through years. And then we have interpretation in life, we have complexes, we have blockages, we fail several times, and then these can prevent our energy in order to manifest. So we don't get what we want, and then we start maybe, somebody blaming themselves. If somebody is in the position of blaming themselves for their unhappiness, it's very unlikely this person can get out of this loop, because we should refer and think about ourselves not as the problem but as the solution of the problem. So how do we get happiness? When somebody is trapped into a loop that is thinking to be the problem, and they refer themselves as the problem, they may feel unworthy, they may feel incapacity, they may be full of anger, resentment, and these are all negative emotion that self-attribution, attribute to themselves. So what do? I just get them back in time where they were in a different position, where they were the solution of the problem, where they had the drive that they fight to conquer whatever they want, and leave the failure and leave the negative feelings away. Just reframe that, reinterpret that, because what I think, people get lost, people get trauma, and usually the trauma has a name and surname. It's very unlikely that it's a fact. Sometimes it's a fact, but usually for the average person, the trauma, the misinterpretation, the self-attribution that they give to themselves, they originate with a name and surname. There is a person behind that.
So the name and surname of the trauma, you're
Yeah.
referring into a person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually there are persons.
It's not an event. It's not one event.
It's an
It's the person
event.
that produced the event.
It's an emotional event, an interpretation of reality. It's an emotional event. Like if you are a child and your parents treat you in a different way, like make a negative comparison between the two different child, so one is going to feel inferior, and that's the interpretation of the reality, and then the interpretation of themselves, of himself, and that creates a complex. So what I'm doing, I just get people back to their freedom state, to their happiness state. We were born happy. We were born we were born in a very good self-confidence, in a personal well-being, because there is two aspects of life: the personal well-being and the quality of life. What is more important? Sometimes I ask people this question: it is more important for you the personal well-being or the quality of life? If they answer the personal well-being, they already state that they think they are the problem. Because what you really want is the quality of life. You have to satisfy your needs, and you don't have to have problem with yourself. But if you identify, I want a personal well-being because otherwise I cannot enjoy what I have, that means that you are in conflict with yourself. That's the pathology.
Okay, so that's the trauma, still tackling this subject. So what happens in your body, in all aspects of it, in your spiritual body, emotional body, mental body, and physical body, when a trauma occurs to you? You lose happiness?
Anytime we feel something, we experience this feeling into emotion, and we think with this feeling. So the feeling, the sensation, the emotivity that we have creates the type of thoughts that we generate, but also can stick in the body. If you feel fear, the fear go down. Your legs will tremble, and you may wee wherever you are if the fear is very strong. And if you feel anger, the anger doesn't go down, it go up. You don't see. You become blind. You get a headache. If you feel worry, and you worry, you don't move. It's like you are in the quicksand. And if you feel sadness, you don't breathe. You are just sitting there, and then you sad, and you cry. And crying is the movement to make you breathing again. Because when you cry, you have to breathe. This is the natural movement. So the emotion, the emotivity, the blockages, you can experience them in any different aspect of yourself, which is your mind, your body, your energy, your organs. Because like this is Chinese medicine. If you are sad, the sadness affects your lungs, and then you don't breathe. And if you feel fear, the fear affects your kidney, and you wee. But this is energy, and this type of energy, we can connect them also with the energy of the planet. If you take cold too much, you go running into the toilet. You don't hold your wee. The bladder opens. And if you have too much hot, you get headache, and your heart rate increase. So all the cosmic energy, the type of food, and yourself, everything interact. So we are just one being, that expressed in an environment, and we are the environment. In terms of our experience, talking about trauma, when somebody has a trauma, the trauma is just an interpretation. You can go back and reframe it, change this perception of your trauma, change it in your brain, change it in your emotion, and you will free. You get awareness, and you get free. Of course, if the trauma is bearable, you can go back and deal with your trauma if you haven't gone until the point of no return, like everything. Some, the majority of people are healthy, they have problem, they can solve the problem. But if the problem gets too high, then they may need a medical supplement, because I can only deal with people that still want it to do, they have the willpower, they have the awareness, and they want to be helped. People, they get too high in the trauma, they lose completely the consciousness, like schizophrenia, for example. I cannot deal with these people. They have to go into chemical things, because the trauma, it has taken too much of this person. We can lose the thread. Yeah, we can lose. So in order for us to maintain happiness, we need to satisfy the quality of life. And in order to satisfy the quality of life, we need to be okay with ourselves.
And not suppress our emotions.
And not suppress our emotions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do all this when you live in 2022 right now, in this society that we have created, and all these tasks that we have to do daily, all these things that we are committed to, our responsibility? I'm talking to all these people that have to go to work every day, that have children to take care of, and all this. How do you do with this all big, let's say, mess? How do you catch on the thread again and stop losing yourself in your thoughts and the things you have to do? How do you get back to yourself and find happiness in this?
You don't need to get back to yourself. You're already there, actually. The thing is, today, 2022, we have a lot of opportunity compared to the past. People are very educated, like in the past, 300 years ago, people, they couldn't even talk or read or write. Today, we can do a lot. And also the society, okay, there are troubles, there are situations, but there is much more freedom today. You can choose, you can change country, you can change religion, you can change your job, you can move around. You can do all these things if you feel you're capable of doing that, and if you feel you're worthy of doing that, and if you feel you're free to do that, and if you feel that you have the willpower to do that. That's the energy inside is much more important than what you achieve outside. Then, of course, you have to express your life mission. Why are you here? What is the meaning of your life? And that can be a source of happiness or unhappiness. So it's complicated, but to be technical, I just bring the people back to their original well-being and state of well-being, and overcome all the blockages, complexes, or self-attribution that they may have, in order to unlock them and to get and live life the way they want to do.
And to feel connected to something higher and bigger than just yourself. So, for instance, for myself, I'll use prayers and singing, and then I'm able to recenter just based on feeling the higher. Maybe it's my own higher self, maybe it's the accumulation of all that there is, but being in nature and just feeling connected to something that's more potent than just my little old, selfish agenda of what I want to achieve, and then feeling it as something so powerful. Sometimes it brings me to my knees and I just cry because it's so beautiful and powerful to feel this connection. And it doesn't come from anything online or books. It's just innate. It's something that we came here with. And I believe that that's what you see in the eyes of a child when there's pure joy, and they're just giggling, and they can't even speak yet. They're so young, and they're just so happy, And this is bringing us back to purity of self without the distraction of what our needs are. We all have needs, or we think we do. But yes, air, water, food, friendship, connection. And I believe that depression can come from feeling disconnected from pure source, which is what I have been seeing lately in so many instances with people being depressed and stating this online, you know, in these posts, and my heart goes out to them because we've all been there. We've all been in that predicament of feeling what hell is, and it's all in the mind. And once you release what is stuck there, you're able to connect to something much bigger.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. I'm referring myself as a technician. I don't want to go into spirituality. I just help people to get rid of their trauma, their situation, the misinterpretation, the things that block, that is interact from themselves and to the real life, from the inner world to the outer world. They have no connection and they don't interact. I help them to get this connection back, the feeling of themselves. Then what they do with their life, they can do whatever they want as long as they're happy. That's exactly what you are just saying. So yeah, I don't want to give them hint or suggestion of what to do with their life. I just refer myself as a technician, help them for the problem they come with, and then they're free. They can do what they want. They don't need to compensate their energy, because when somebody is in trouble, they compensate. Maybe eating too much or taking drugs or working too much. They don't want to think, or getting angry, getting upset, you know. It's a compensation because there's something in their energy that doesn't flow smoothly from inside what you really want and what you achieve. And there is I call it's a communication within yourself, within ourselves inside. Then of course we need that, and then we need the communication with the external world. And then we can do what we want to be happy, to do our life. It's quite simple actually, being happy. We don't need so much. We need a good feeling inside. Then whatever you do, you may find beauty. But of course, everybody likes different things, so they will go for different things. I'm not questioning that.
Well, with the distractions that we have with technology and cell phones, computers, and I mean, we can pretty much find anything that we want to in the internet. So let's go into pornography, how we kind of like see how it all went a different route, utilizing it as a kind of like a sport, just to be able to see something and getting the exhilaration inside, like sex sells in music videos and in movies. All of it all comes back to this, you know, this is so good, and it pulls us away from the actual divine sexuality of our being, that we are sexual beings.
Yes, because you said that in internet you find everything you want. Actually, you find nothing, because everything is fake. You don't have a sexuality in internet. You just see video, and this is not sexuality. This is just pornography, and you can learn through that. So all the information that comes through the mind, they stay in the mind, but you don't have a physical life. You don't experience sexuality. So you don't. If you lose all of your energy watching things, living into the mind and not living into the body, you are not living fully. You only live when you make it happen, when you make it real. So if you want to live the music, okay, you can dance, but if you want to do music, you have to play music. If you want a sexuality, you have to go into sexuality. And sexuality is not what is represented in the videos, because the videos, they are all the same, one after the other, they are all the same. But if you have a sexual life, you will see that it's never the same. So it's life is beautiful, but people get lost in there. Why do people get lost in there? Then there can be a different answer because they feel unworthy, they feel shy. The more you get into a modeling in that way, and the more you get lost. It's like into food. The more you eat artificial product with artificial flavoring, and the less you like natural flavoring.
Yes.
It's
Exactly.
just a trick. It's the, you know, this is the exploitation of human being. They create these things to exploit people, and that money there, and it's an industry. I would say even more. The industry that really exploit 4 billion people in the planet is the industry of tobacco. 4 billion smokers. Can you tell me any good things about tobacco, smoking a cigarette? What do they sell in reality? They sell freedom, they sell wow, you cool, they don't sell tobacco, and people attach their lack of this freedom into the cigarette, and they think they're free if they smoke the cigarette. And actually smoking a cigarette, becoming addicted, it means a dependency. So they think they're free, creating themselves a dependency. It's just twisted, you know. But there's so many examples of this in what commercial does on us. So we must become aware of this and do your life.
Yes.
So what are these commercials and this tobacco and addictions with pornography and cigarettes? What is it exploiting into the human? What is this core things that it touches very deeply in us and makes us feel free, like you just said? What is this? And can we do something about it and kind of like shift it backward towards ourselves and keep it for ourselves and protect it? Are they exploiting some like human weakness?
Yes.
What is this weakness? What can we do about it?
We go back to our unconscious mind what we want. We want to be free. We want to be happy, and we want to express. And in order to get there, we must feel good with ourselves. If I shy, I need like a cigarette. It's a conflict in communication. I put something between me and another person, or whether a cigarette or a glass of wine. So this reduces my tension, and I can express. It's a trick. It's a trick. So this industry exploit people's weaknesses, and behind this industry there are all the psychology study. The psychology study, they don't study to help people to overcome their problem. They study to exploit people with problems.
Wow.
That's a big statement.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, that's a big statement. I know.
So when you're when you're surrounded with all this, like where do you find the truth and the fake? Where do you find yourself if you live in this kind of society, which we have the chance not to here in the jungle in Costa Rica, but we lived this. We all lived this. So where do you find the truth and the fake? Like all these studies that you're talking about, and all these things that comes to us, the subliminal messages in the advertising or everything. Where do you find the truth?
I think that it's innate. You already are there. When you are a child, you know what is good and what is not good. Then you start identify and create a different personality and behavior. But we inside, we know what we are. And I can tell you more. Anytime that we don't feel good, we are out of track. Anytime we don't experience the good things, this is not the reality that we are looking for. Because more or less we want the same things. We are all the same, even if we are different, we go in different paths, but we want to be happy, and we want to be loved, we want to express, we want to satisfy our needs. The thing is, when somebody gets greedy, that has an impact on other people, start exploiting other people, but also a greedy person is exploiting themselves because they don't enjoy their wealth. And they become fearful of losing it. It's perverse things. I mean, that's going back to what Anushka said. after you solve your personal conflict in everyday life and your blockages or your complexes, you should go towards spirituality and have a different level of understanding, and that's probably the best way to do it.
Awesome. Wow. It was a beautiful podcast today. Thank you so much for answering all our questions and for stating all these beautiful things that make us just want to breathe through ourselves, closing our eyes and just coming back to ourselves, right? Just the inner child. It was, as you said, it was innate, and we can find our connection to something bigger eventually, as you said, Anushka. So thank you so much for your time, Glauco, Anushka. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
very much.
in
Pleasure.
the podcast.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys enjoyed it, everyone. See you around. Bye. We have reached the end of today's episode. Thank you again for listening. Feel free to subscribe to our channels. You can find us on our website, themethodeu.com, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Telegram. Stay tuned for upcoming workshops, online events, teaching, and much more. See you next time.